Hi, my name is Vibhanshu and this is a day in the life of an IIM Bangalore student.
3 Idiots was shot in our college, by the way.
Yeah. Imagine that being the USP of your college.
Yeah.
The 3 Idiots.
पढ़ाई ही करनी है तो जाओ अहमदाबाद.
But
Insecure overachievement. Somebody put up a poker station. Somebody actually...
It's Calcutta.
when you worked at consulting, what do you think? Was it worth the hype?
They give you a flavor of what it feels like to be at the top with like the hotels, the flights and all of that glamour that people talk about. And what it does actually also is it makes you see through shit. You realize, yeah, this is not really that important.
Nikhil Kamath recently had pointed out MBA at 25.
If you're 25 and going to MBA college today, you must be some kind of idiot.
And you are exactly at 25, Vibhanshu. You're the best person at this.
Yeah, we are way past.
Do you think this video
that
will reach Nikhil
benchmark.
Kamath? I think if it reaches a billionaire, I would be happy, bro. Nikhil, I love you, man.
Wouldn't say the money, placement or any other aspect because I have left my job and I'm doing my own thing. But it does add a lot of credibility in terms of opening a lot of doors for you. A lot of my personal brand is the credentials I carry. So I think it has helped me in a lot of ways.
If someone starts his career, like at what kind of salary they can start, and probably after 5-6 years and beyond, what is the career trajectory one can have? So one of the rare podcasts where we don't have a specific agenda. We have Vibhanshu from IIM Bangalore. He's been working at Mckinsey. We have Avni from IIM Calcutta. So she had been working with BCG, and I'm from IIM Ahmedabad as well. So we don't have a specific agenda, but hopefully we can make sense out of this podcast in some way or the other, especially for someone in their 20s planning for an MBA or thinking about life at IIM. We'll discuss about how our life had been before IIM, during IIM, how was it, and after IIM, how our lives have unfolded. So hopefully we make sense out of it. But before we start, Vibhanshu, while you were thinking about preparing for your MBA program and everything, and you finally got that offer letter for IIM Bangalore, what was your feeling?
Yeah, I think first of all, thanks for having me, Anant. This is my first real podcast of sorts, actually. Seeing so many cameras is kind of nice. Also, my mind has a skin, so it's particularly
But you're
nice.
used to it.
Yeah, I mean,
You're
I've been
pretty used to it.
Yeah. But we also have an audience, so it's pretty nice. But going back to the moment when I got the offer letter from IIM Bangalore, I still remember it was a very special moment because I knew कि आने वाला है कुछ दिनों में result. I don't know if I'll get in or not, but April में I used to keep checking my phone. And this one time, when I was going to play Ultimate Frisbee, there was a session, which is also a sport, by the way. A lot of people don't know about it. But anyway, so I was going to go play that sport, and right as I was leaving, an email came, and I was like, okay, this is from IIM Bangalore. So I was kind of nervous to open it. But anyway, I clicked on it, and the first word of the subject line was congratulations, etc. So I had a feeling this is turning out well, and I read the whole thing and I screamed in my room. And as soon as I did that, my best friend who used to live right next to me, Ishan, he came checking up on me ki kya hua hai. And then I was like, yeah, let's go. And we hugged it out and it was really, really nice. And then I played and I really had like a baller of a time that entire night. I called my parents up and stuff. So it's really a memory that will forever be etched. Yeah.
Nice. And Avni, what about you?
So I actually got my admit at the onset of COVID. I still remember my flatmate and I was just trying to figure out, how to get our next run of groceries done between all the rules and regulations that were being imposed every day. And I got this email from IIM Calcutta. I did not initially think that it might be an offer, admit and all, because that time interviews were moved online. It was a very unclear, unpredictable scenario that was happening. So I thought maybe just another email about, some sort of dates and everything. So I opened it and it said admission, something. But I was like, I don't know. I don't think I actually got it. And I was very confused. Like my mind could not process what I was reading, or it could not believe actually what I was reading. So I went to my flatmate and I told her ki, bro, just read this email. I'm not able to figure out what it says. And she read it and she's like, yaar, lag to admit hi raha hai. And then I asked 1-2 more people. I said, yaar, कैसे verify करे इसको? They said, नहीं admit ही लग रहा है, ये है वो है. Then it took me some time to process it, and then I was like, अच्छा, okay, actual में मेरे को admission मिला है IIM Calcutta में, तो मैं जा सकती हूँ वहाँ पर. So it took some time to register.
That moment, like मेरी selection हो गई,
मेरी selection हो गई है. मुझे यकीन नहीं हो रहा मेरी selection हो गई है, मेरी selection हो सकती है. It was that moment.
For me, it was kind of IIM Calcutta. I was fairly confident I'll convert because of the interview. IIM Ahmedabad was kind of a stress interview, so I thought maybe not, maybe yes. And I was sitting in my office when the results came out, and I told my entire team that yes, I've appeared for CAD and everything. Probably I might leave this year. And once the results came out, I just and I told them that probably results are going to come out today itself. And once it came out, I just looked at the mail and was smiling. And my senior, basically consultant, he was right in front of me and he told me, "Aa gaya." I was like, "Yes, aa gaya." So then they congratulated me. I just went aside, called my family. And I think
तो उसी दिन छोड़ के चला था. I was like, ये रख लो, ये deck इतना बना है. Now you guys manage.
Kind of. I think they were already in that phase. My team was already in that phase कि ये तो जाने वाला है. Since I told them the percentile and everything, I think they were already. There's a list that comes out in any company that these are the potential people who might leave. So you have to arrange a backup. Yeah. Achha. So I think my name was already there. So everyone was kind of prepared already. And उसके बाद I think 1-2 दिन का बात था. I don't know how it was for you guys, but मेरे लिए 1-2 दिन का बात था. उसके बाद and everything subsided and everything was like something that you dreamt of for like 2 years for in my case. And then it finally happened, and after 2 days it was like back to normal. Everything subsided.
मेरे को दोस्तों ने लूट लिया था because मैं 4th year में था. They were like party चाहिए अब तो 25-30 लाख कमाएगा ये क्या. अभी तो कुछ नहीं है मेरे पास, अभी तो skip. But still we went out and I think there was.
It's -25 actually.
So but for me the dramatic shift was that until the point I got the admit, it was like पता नहीं MBA करना है नहीं करना है, not sure, maybe I'll continue with the job, the growth will be good. I was working at a startup and everything, so I thought ये भी सही है. बट एज सुन एज आई गॉट द एडमिट तब तक चल रहा था. आई वॉज टॉकिंग टू पीपल कि अच्छा क्या प्रोज कॉन्स हैं, क्या ग्रोथ रहेगा, क्या करियर ट्रेजेक्टरी रहेगा. आई वॉज टॉकिंग टू माई मैनेजर ऑल्सो अबाउट इट. बट एज सुन एज आई गॉट द एडमिट, उसके बाद ना कॉन्वर्जेशन एक ही पॉइंट था. देयर वाज ओनली वन क्वेश्चन टू आंसर कि क्या मैं उसको नो बोल पाऊंगी. राइट, बिकॉज I was like, अभी एक बार ही एडमिट हाथ में आ गया एंड अभी नो बोलना इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट. यू कांट डेफर इट ऑल्सो. इंडिया में नहीं चलता.
IIM Ahmedabad does.
हाँ हमारे, बट दैट टू इज ऑल्सो ऑन अ वेरी एक्सेप्शनल जेन्युइन रीजन बेसिस पर होता है. इट्स नॉट लाइक चलो मैं नेक्स्ट ईयर कर लूंगा.
IIM Ahmedabad में you can do, if you have less than 2 years, you can do just 1 or 2 years.
एडमिट आने के बाद सोचना कि should I join or not. I was like ये तो करना ही है.
भाई CAD is so unpredictable. मैं तो नहीं सोचता obviously.
Plus for me then it was like यार मेरा ड्रीम कॉलेज है, मुझे जाना तो IIM Calcutta ही था. अगर मुझे इंडिया में MBA करना है तो अब तो नहीं छोड़ सकते. तो सारे जो पहले के क्वेश्चंस और डाउट्स थे ना वो सब
What's wrong with Bangalore though? Why would it not be your dream college, I would say?
I don't know, but I always felt with respect to sports and the kind of seniors from IIT Kanpur who went to IIM Calcutta, I always felt like it was a good fit for me.
IIM Bangalore में भी आते हैं.
I know, but for me it felt like a good fit. Like IIT Kanpur felt like a good fit when I was going to undergrad.
Come on,
Ahmedabad, we both can agree. Why would anyone go to Ahmedabad?
Ahmedabad, I agree with you. Ahmedabad, I agree with
like,
you.
Unless you're like
and
a really
insecure overachiever.
Yeah. पढ़ाई करनी है, पढ़ाई ही करनी है तो जाओ Ahmedabad. It makes sense.
But I guess once you don't make it, I think once you make it IIM Bangalore and Calcutta, it's a clear explanation that IIM Ahmedabad नहीं करना था.
हाँ नहीं हुआ इनका इसलिए ditch करना है. That is his logic. But yeah, whatever lets you sleep at night.
मैं तो Bangalore में ही था, to be honest. I did my undergrad from Bangalore. I identify as a Bangalore boy.
So I think when we had this Sangharsh, I think we had this banner. Congratulations on making it to your dream college. So it goes on.
Wow, did it make?
By the way, speaking of Sangharsh, how many golds did you guys win? You guys were the worst. Kid, you not looking dead ass in the camera. These guys are so bad at sports. Like apart from frisbee, and by the way, we defeated you guys in frisbee.
We could have defeated
frisbee. It's really good for IIM Ahmedabad.
Yeah, frisbee is good for IIM Ahmedabad.
But I was the captain in 2023 batch. We won gold. These guys finished third. They didn't even play the finals.
I'm going to cry because we didn't have Sangharsh for 2 years.
But I'll give you that. Ahmedabad has the best frisbee squad throughout. They have traditionally been the best. Also, still are. But apart from that one sport, you guys suck ass in every single
but that
sport.
year they were sucking at that also. That's why they were the first ones to pull out of Sangharsh to say that,
But
COVID.
Is
so yeah, it was IIM Ahmedabad who started
you can't blame you guys because
okay, your year. Achha, your
my year.
You guys have this
I was
thing.
in a different
You guys have this thing of like 15 minute पहले बताते हैं कि quiz होने वाला है नहीं, and everybody goes and checks the notice. What I've heard stuff like that.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
academics is
stress होने लग जाएगा यार. Like at every point like 15
So we have
minutes
this in 1:45. You would get a surprise notification, which test, what's the syllabus and everything, and 2:30 the test starts.
I don't think there have been any like unannounced evaluative components in any of the
Right.
courses I've taken in IIM
I
Bangalore.
know.
पहले से बता के
I know
रखता
it's in that order only. Like I don't know. I don't find the use case of putting that kind of a stress, honestly.
Thanks.
And
Thanks.
I'm
इसलिए
Ahmedabad.
इनका सेंस ऑफ ह्यूमर भी ऐसा ही है कि वेलकम टू योर ड्रीम कॉलेज.
Exactly, like I swear.
But I think this banter looks good like when you are in the campus. Apart from that, I think this community, IIM ABC, आप किसी भी company में जाओ, किसी में कहीं पर भी जाओ.
Even
I
other,
think it's a
like,
very
beyond
very
ABC
strong
also, it
community.
doesn't- yeah,
But I
it's a
think
very
Calcutta
strong.
has the strongest community. I think everyone I've met from Joka is just like so tight with each other. And although there is politics in every college,
Yeah.
there is something
Yeah,
like that.
there
But
is.
having said that, I felt like because the lifestyle is a little more very laid back comparatively.
It's a tribe.
It's
Yeah,
much less
a Joka
competitive, I
tribe.
would say. IIM Calcutta is much less competitive.
Much less
for
competitive.
sure.
No,
For
between each other, we do less RG-giri than you,
Haan,
than you
exactly,
guys.
exactly.
That is why we are
In a-
less.
in a positive way
but
only. It's
we are-
much less
Yeah, we are
competitive.
competitive, but not with each other.
हाँ,
We are a tribe.
in a much less
मुझे तो पूरा campus ही party vibes लगता है. मैं वहाँ पे
But
संन्यास
party vibes
लेके
तो
गया
है.
था. I was like, this is a vibe.
exactly,
What
exactly.
a vibe.
And it's very different from A and B as well.
Yeah.
It's very different. People are very competitive, not in a very positive way, but in a
But in a
negative way
very
as well.
साथ में करेंगे.
Yeah.
साथ
B,
में
I
बुरा
think-
भी साथ में होगा तो साथ में झेलेंगे.
But
अच्छा
B
भी
hits
साथ
the
में.
sweet spot that way because I feel like infra-wise, you guys are really bad. Like I could find paan stains in
Oh, God.
toilets and like
Very
the
bad.
room smelled and it looked like I'm in
But
the
you went to the
Sarkari-
boys' toilet, na?
I mean, of course. Where else will I go? But yeah, so but with
Yeah.
Bangalore, I think the infra like looks premium. Like if
Yeah.
you walk into the campus, you can understand that you're
Yeah.
walking in
Yeah.
the, dare I say, the best business school in the country. So
Oh
yeah,
my god.
you
Yeah,
get a
3
feeling like
Idiots
that.
was shot in our college, by the way.
Yeah,
Say that
I
on-
mean it's well known now.
Imagine that
Just
being
throw
the
that
USP.
also.
Imagine that being the USP of your
Yeah.
college. The
That's
3 Idiots.
I mean, hey,
Campus.
3 Idiots was it fundamentally changed my life.
And
I
that
don't know about
also
you
they
guys.
had to turn it into an engineering college and not a B school. At least 2 states when it was shot on IIM Ahmedabad, it showed as an
Oh.
MBA campus. At least.
I mean, it taught me to chase excellence.
Yeah, but
Success will follow.
okay, coming back, what was the expectation before joining the campus? What was the expectation
My
from the kind of people?
I was thinking, like, first of all, I was thinking I should fit in because I was like, I'm a fresher. How I'm going to deal with everyone else who's coming from these work experience roles? Everybody. I had this preconceived notion that there might be something that these guys know that I don't know of. So when I walked in, I was somewhat, I wouldn't use the word imposter syndrome necessarily because I felt like I belong because I've clearly passed an examination. Like, I've deserved to be here, but at the same time, I did feel like, wow, there might be some gap in terms of what I need to know, and there might be some catching up to do. But it very quickly subsided within like the first 2 weeks of classes. Once I could see like people actually converse in a setting where all of us are learning, I felt like, yeah, I think this is fine. And I also realized that most people at jobs actually don't do crazy stuff. It's just like, especially entry level jobs before pre-MBA. So yeah, that way it was fine.
And for you, IIM Calcutta, any specific preconceived notion you had about
So,
people?
not a preconceived notion as such. I was excited to meet people from different backgrounds because by that time I had only interacted with my IIT wala fraternity. So I was like, I'll meet new people, I'll learn about, different careers and everything. But I had 2 major goals. One was playing sports and second was meeting some like-minded people with whom, maybe I can start my entrepreneurial journey from college itself. But I don't know, COVID or what or anything, that sort of did not happen while I was in campus. तो ऐसे तो नहीं था, but बहुत सारे misconceptions ज़रूर थे जो धुल गए कॉलेज जाने के बाद.
We'll talk about that.
But it's actually true. Like, I'm happy you bring that point up because it's surprising that 90% of the batch will never do a business. They will just join MNCs and like do the corporate
Yeah.
route in a business school. That is.
But
Which
I
is-
think
That's a very-
that's kind of I don't know because MBA you can't start a business, but they are asking you to manage a business. They're teaching you to manage a business, which is already built.
Yeah.
You can master a specific function in a well-established business. But when it comes to starting a business, I believe there's a lot about taking your appetite risk and risk-taking appetite that you
Yeah.
have and everything, which probably any degree or any course cannot teach you. It
Yeah,
comes
like
from
even
within.
the
Yeah, you're right.
Indian B school curriculum is you learn about organization structure, how in big companies things
Right.
are done, how to manage. We study case studies about big companies and
Right.
everything, like how things are done, what management does and everything. So that is what we are being trained for.
Exactly.
And for every individual, you're investing a lot of money in India to do an MBA
Exactly.
from these B schools. So you want that ROI
Yeah. And
eventually.
anyone thinking about a startup, I believe the only thing you can get is probably network to certain kind of people, probably that brand value or that degree.
But
that
even
yes,
that network,
Yeah.
since you're talking about it, is also people working in corporates, right?
No,
Most of them.
Some of for example, a VC might take you a little bit seriously. At least you can get an entry to present your idea.
Access to capital definitely becomes easier. But I also agree with you that the founder's skill set is very different from some manager's skill set. And it's hard to teach that as well. But this reminds me of the course that... So we had a course called Entrepreneurship, which was taken by Professor Suresh Bhagatullah. He's a really, at this point, I would say a friend of mine as well. But so he called me back for a talk for Bangalore BBA kids as well.
Yeah.
He had this idea, which unfortunately couldn't do it with our batch. But in the previous batches, he would give a certain amount of money to everyone, and then he would ask to go and build a business, whatever business that is.
Nice.
And at the end of the course, everyone would be evaluated based on how much money they would be able to generate from that initial pool of capital everyone got. So you're right, people came up with like very ingenious methods of like making money, and that is very hard to teach. You can't teach it. You just have to do it, and if you do it, you'll probably learn on the way. So.
Exactly. Even we had these courses which were optional rather in second year, not part of our core courses. We also had another course where everyone had to build a business. Anything, any small scale or anything, you had to build a business, but it was an optional course as well. So, and I really believe like once a startup also gets established, at some point they would need MBA people.
Yeah.
But a founder's mindset is very different, and any degree or anything cannot teach it. So anyone who is thinking about starting something,
but we
of their
did
own,
have an event, like we used to have an event where, you know, it was like an exhibition, just like a typical exhibition where everyone can purchase a stall for, you know, and then you can put up a stall for anything that you want. So somebody put up a poker station, somebody
Of course they
actually
did. It's Calcutta.
What the best idea? Focus,
then there was somebody opened a restaurant sort of setup. They were cooking and they were selling. Somebody, because that Squid Game was very popular that time. So somebody did that game, you know, of that toothpick and that game. So people put up different stalls, and actually it was a proper business fair sort of a thing that students were doing amongst themselves. So we did have such interesting activities as well.
Exactly. But once you are thinking about starting something, there's financial risk.
There's financial risk
and
when
which
you're
is very
actually
different.
doing it, and people are in general very risk averse.
Exactly. That's why anyone thinking about a startup, probably MBA is not something which will teach you to start something.
Yeah.
It can just provide you certain access to some
It will
network
not
and
teach
financial
you, please
capital.
trust me, because
It will not
I
teach
learned
you.
about everything that I had to learn about GST after I started my own business. It was very difficult for me.
Right. And those aspects as well. And I believe, I don't know about you guys, but we used to take the HR and the HR OB subjects quite casually. It was like globe for us, but a lot of those skills as well, delegation, and because you cannot teach them in a classroom setting, and that's why. But what do you find in real life? Those skills, negotiation, delegation, it is very important. People management is very important.
Yeah.
But somehow in B school, people don't take it seriously as well, because there's no one way of teaching
But
it.
globe, we say that in a very joking way we say it, but all of us have been from consulting. So we have actually globed our way through a lot of our jobs also.
True.
Which is a very true skill.
It's a true skill.
Exactly. And I think for any MBA role, I think it's very important that you know how to talk your way through situations.
Yeah.
Because it's not a core functional skill that, okay, this is the output. If I'm coding, I need this kind of an output. There can be multiple directions in any
But it
MBA
also
role.
like gives you a very good globe radar. Like if someone
Right.
globes in front of me,
Yeah.
I'd be like, just cut it. Like I know what you're doing right now. There's no
Exactly.
substance.
So I
behind.
met one very, very senior person, now retired, and he was actually telling me that I've worked in MBB also, and I've sat on the other side of the table also as an executive. And he was telling me whenever a McKinsey or BCG consultant will come in front of me, the first thing I do is switch to Hindi.
Nice.
And then I'm like, abhi tu mujhe dhanda bata.
Perfect.
Nice.
And then I was like, oh shit. Like,
Okay,
game palat diya sir ne.
That's a good
Yeah,
question.
actually, that is good. Let's come to life while you were there on campus. What has been your obviously for Vibhanshu, that video is definitely the highlight of his campus days,
Actually ended up being.
life at IIM Bangalore. But apart from that as well, like what have been some of the memories that you really cherish?
That's a deep question. I would have to think of it. The video definitely comes to mind right from the get-go. One was, as I said, like captaining the squad for a Sangharsh gold medal. It was like really dear to us because the year before, our seniors and us, we were playing together and we lost by 1 point to Ahmedabad, and Ahmedabad ended up winning the gold eventually. So we really wanted to do that, and we were hosting it the next year. So getting the job done, fine. And this is the first gold medal that IIM Bangalore has won in Frisbee. So as a captain, that was like really special for me. And the team, like, to see the players who had never even picked up a frisbee and within 2 years get really good at it. Shout out to Parth, shout out to Tanya. They played really well. So that was special. Third was like convocation right at the end, like seeing my parents really, really happy as I was taking the seat. My mom smiling ear to ear. I think it's just so photogenic, that memory in my brain. So that I keep going back to that as well. And the parties, I don't think one particular event, but like just really, especially in second year towards the end, just taking it easy and just spending a lot of time with friends. I think that was much needed. So all these memories really do come back.
Okay, and for you, Avni, any specific thing?
Aside from COVID, so I think, some of my favorite times in campus have been playing sports. I used to play 4 sports every single day. Sangharsh only allows 3. So I was preparing religiously for 3. I was a captain of the basketball team. I was a vice captain of the futsal team. I was also part of the frisbee team. So every day I used to wake up and I used to message the other 2 captains and tell them, what time are you doing your practice today? Accordingly, I'm going to set up my practice, and then that's when I'm going to go so that I can play all the 3 sports. So every day, 5 to 6 hours at least I was spending on the court doing something or the other. I used to get injured left, right and center, but I would still go and play. And I get injured again, then again go and play. So that was my, one of the things that I was looking forward to when I went to do an MBA. Didn't get to play Sangharsh sadly, but that is those are some of my core memories. And then of course spending time with friends and
got it. And apart from these as well, like the placement process, which is much talked about at the IIMs.
But what about you? Was it just studying?
I would say IIM Ahmedabad mostly it's very competitive, honestly. The environment is very competitive in that way, and academic stress as well is much more, I would say, even in the second year as well.
Yeah.
So that is kind of, you have to compromise on certain things.
Yeah.
And I think more you have a kind of a camaraderie with your section mates and dorm mates, and you end up playing poker as well. Like we're not from Calcutta, but we still the playing poker with your dorm mates, section mates. Those are the kind of stuff I believe is there in the memory. And probably those 3 a.m., 4 a.m. walks around the campus. That was special because usually you end up with an assignment at that time, and then you take a walk around the campus. In our time, it was very different campus. Now it's much better. It's a completely new block that has been set up. But obviously now it's much better. But that time as well, going around those walks, I think those are some of the memories.
I think that is a luxury that we'll probably never get now in our lives. Like just walking around campus. Even for me, like walking by the lake, sitting at the bench by the lake, just looking at sunset.
And I wish we had done that more, because somehow talking to your friends during that time, it's not adding any academic value of that sort, but you remember those conversations somehow, and I remember those conversations,
and those are more life changing.
Exactly. What you want to do and stuff. But apart from that as well, I believe, because I was talking about also the competitive pressure and stuff, placement is definitely one of the most talked about thing in campus placements. And I don't know how it's for BNC as well, but I believe it would be the same. There is a lot of obsession around, at least during that time, with placements. Specific companies, you know that you will land up a very good job, but very specific companies you want to get into. Do you think that obsession with placements was worth it?
I'll let her go first.
I don't think it was worth it, but maybe I have a very biased opinion, and I've actually seen both the sides. Like I have one side I've seen online placement wala, but the other side offline placement wala thing I've seen as a part of the recruitment team from BCG. So I think at that point in time now, everybody's just thinking that this is the make or break of my life. Right. And especially when we talk about the obsession with consulting or the obsession with MBB in general, it is crazy, like, and once people go there now, once you go there and life after 1, 2, 3 years, you'll realize that it fades away. It goes, and everybody's on their own different paths. Some people continue, some people leave, and even the ones who continue everybody's more or less, it gets normalized. So it doesn't make much of a difference later, but you only realize it in hindsight. That is the
Exactly.
that is the reality.
Exactly.
No, I think I relate really hard to what you said. Honestly, like when you go there, initially there's such big aura around these companies. Like when McKinsey comes or BCG or any top company for that matters, there's just like you can sense that everyone from the batch is kind of looking forward to that shortlist. And even in that pre-placement talk, and you meet people who are consultants, and you naturally just look up to them and be like, wow, they're like, I want to be that guy. And eventually when you do become that guy,
Exactly.
you realize that the glamour is so much just from the outside. Like this life it's great in its own way. There are a lot of learnings, and probably that's for a different conversation. But having said that, it just fades away very quickly.
Yeah.
And you realize there's like,
Exactly.
it's just...
And actually, yes, because you can start seeing those people as role model who have got an internship and got a PPO. You start seeing them as role model, which is very narrow thinking, I believe.
इंटर्नशिप पीपीओ तो बहुत आगे की बात है. शॉर्टलिस्ट आने के
हाँ,
बाद
exactly.
कैंपस
और
का
लोगों की
वाइब
चौड़ हो
बदल
जाती है,
जाता
पता है?
है.
मतलब मैंने कितने लोगों को देखा पहले ऐसे सहमे से रहते थे, शॉर्टलिस्ट आ गई MBB में ऐसे एकदम,
And then they'll form their own groups as well, I guess.
yeah, they're very like ये हमारे बंदे हैं.
एक होता है जो शॉर्टलिस्ट के पहले केस ग्रुप्स बनते हैं, ठीक है, और जैसी शॉर्टलिस्ट आती है वो केस ग्रुप्स डेड हो जाते हैं, फिर नए सेट ऑफ केस ग्रुप्स बनते हैं कि हम शॉर्टलिस्ट वालों के साथ प्रेप करेंगे क्योंकि वही सीरियस प्रेप करें, बाकी तो
Exactly same.
it is very weird.
I'm like campuses, like so different campuses, but the same culture. We also used to form that case groups, and then the case groups used to get distorted based on the short list. I don't know why.
And even now the juniors that I speak with who reach out like, हमको decide करना है between these firms, what should we do, how our conversations with the buddies should be and everything. It's the same conversations that are still going on. ये buddy को ये बोलो, BCG वाले को ऐसे करना है, McKinsey वाले को ऐसे बोल दो, इसका hot list है. The same thing that is, and शायद हमारे 10 साल पहले भी हमारे seniors भी हमारे time पे भी यही होता था.
It's the environment as well, I believe, because when our placements were supposed to start, at that time the COVID had set in and we were there at home. While I was at home, I was kind of very sure that I want to get into a startup because I want to see that 0 to 1 journey. I was more excited about that, and I was very sure कि startup में join करूँगा. And that comes day 3 at IIM Ahmedabad. And somehow, just before the placement, 1 or 2 months before the placement, I went there, and day 1, obviously, you need to get a job. Somehow that environment just gets into you, and you're like, just sit for day 1. And once I got that job, I was still thinking whether to think about that day 3, dream about that day 3. And that complacency set in, and I just ended up with the first offer that I got. I did not sit for any of the startups, which I believe probably if I go back, I will definitely choose to work with a startup, a 0 to 1 startup.
It is a very, very hard delete for me because I used to think I used to work for a startup. So I was like, after MBA, maybe I'll do some product job if I have to do a job. If I don't figure out my entrepreneurial path, I'll work for a product management company. But as soon as you enter college, it's all MBB Consulting. And once you get a shortlist, you don't look anywhere else. Like I remember I had an offer from PNG few days before placement started. But then the MBB thing was so, and it was something that I could actually have done also, because now a lot of work that I do is actually marketing, right? So I could have actually done that job and followed that path, and it might have made a lot of sense for me, but it's just so overpowering. Not that I regret that I went to BCG, but it's just so overpowering that your entire decision making is so much impacted by everything that is happening around you that you are not able to see beyond it.
Okay, but beyond IIM, when you worked at consulting, what do you think? Was it worth the hype?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. What are these ways I'm talking about? Firstly, in terms of learning, which I think is something that people love throwing around, but it's actually true. Like for me, every room that I sat in, I was the youngest there. And I could see that, okay, if I'm serving, because of ND, I can't name clients, but say there's a pharmaceutical player and we're helping them grow their revenue by 3x over the next 5 financial years. It's a growth piece. Now, the CEO of this particular pharmaceutical company who's managing a portfolio of, let's say, X thousand crores in terms of revenue, how does he think about things, right? These are not like super rocket sciencey. Like the numbers are really, really big, but the decision frameworks are slightly intuitive as well. And no other job will give you that opportunity to actually like debate about this with your manager, debate about this with the partner on the piece. And if needed, you can also just break into the meeting and give a point of perspective. People actually appreciate it. Yeah. No other job will give you that. So I think that was really good. The second thing that I really liked about it initially, at least, is you really like, they give you a flavor of what it feels like to be at the top with like the hotels, the flights and all of that glamour that people talk about. And what it does actually also is it makes you see through shit. You realize, this is not really that important. Like initially it was, because I had never been to a 5-star hotel personally. But then afterwards I was like, I'm not even spending a lot of time here. Like, what's the point? But to get an exposure through that job was, I think, important. But I think in terms of what did not work out too well is the idea that everybody wants to over deliver to clients. They, like, you can see the partner on the piece would promise 3 things to the client and then they would want to do 5 things. And who's the person who's going to do these 5 things? The analyst at the who's just like right out of MBA, right? And these team sizes are so lean. It's like hardly a 6-7 member team for such a big project. So your bandwidth inevitably takes a toll. That was not very appreciated. And I think everybody knows in the industry that, if you're working as a consultant, you're going to give your 110%. So while there are concepts around work-life balance, how much of that is actually implemented is up for debate. What I really liked also, which I did not mention earlier, is the fact that at a young age, it gives you a flavor of what language actually flies in a boardrooms. It helps you, give you some proof of concept of this is what really happens, and it's not that tough,
Right.
And that clarity is important. How it will shape in the future is something that I also can't tell right now. But as Steve Jobs says that you can only connect the dots looking backward. So later on, when you're raising capital, when you're managing bigger teams, when you're talking to stakeholders who are, much greater than you, at least in terms of sheer net worth, you still know how to convince them and how to go about things, which I think no other job would have given me apart from being a management consultant. So that way, I think it was really nice.
I think for me, apart from what, Vibhanshu has already said, one thing that I personally felt a lot of value addition from was the interpersonal skills aspect of it. Because in consulting, today you're in one project, tomorrow you're on some other project, you have a new team of people to work with, new manager, new partners to work with, and not just that, you have a new client team to work with. So every time you switch a project, you're like saving 15-20 new contact numbers every day from your team, from the client team, and then you have to build relationships with everybody because you have to work with all of them, right? So it cannot be okay, now I'm here, now I have to do this is the 4 things that I need from you, please do it. It doesn't work like that. You have to build a relationship with every single person that you're working with, and you have to learn how to get things done out of different kinds of people, what are their ways of working, and you learn as you do it, and then you have to quickly learn it. You don't have time because now you've started and then you have to start showing output. You don't get time that, take 1 week, 2 weeks to learn everything. You don't get that kind of time.
Yeah. But no, I also quickly, I wanted to add to that because this is such an important point. Like if somebody had told me before I joined consulting that, listen, buddy, this is what you will be doing, it would have been really helpful. But I understand why they would not be able to say that and why this is such a funny topic when people keep saying, what do consultants even do? It's because every single week in consulting looks very different. You are like, I have never seen 2 of my work days look exactly the same. The calls with the people are different. The problem statements are different. Some days are really jam-packed with meetings. Others are slightly chiller. But no matter what it is, the problem statements are so open-ended. Like, find an expert, give me the answer by the end of the day. And you don't even have an idea about the industry, right? So you learn a lot, and inevitably it sets like a new normal for you. After doing that job, you're like, ye to main kar sakta hu. Like, and that mindset is probably more powerful than anything else.
Right.
Yeah, like it's the problem solving skill set, and you're like, give any problem to me now. Now I'll think about it in a structured manner, and I'll be able to do something about it.
There are pros and cons, but definitely one thing is the money is definitely kind of pro if you compare
Money.
with other
Not on a
MBOs.
per hour basis. Objectively, yes, but not on a per
Not
hour
on a
basis.
per hour basis. But if you just want to tell the audience as well, if I start my career at Mckinsey, I think Mckinsey, BCG, Bain, almost at the same level. So if someone starts his career, like at what kind of salary they can start, and probably after 5-6 years and beyond, what is the career trajectory one can have? So just give a sense of it.
Okay. Owing and respecting the NDAs that we have all signed in terms of our salary, I will refrain from commenting exactly.
Wow,
but
spoken like a true consultant.
Exactly.
That's what consulting teaches you.
But if we were to say highlight for a tier 1 consulting firm, not naming names, what is the bucket of compensation that you can expect?
Tentative ranges.
Say, I would say something right from the get-go, 35 to 40 initially. A part of that is joining bonus, a part of that is bonus rated on your rating at the end of the year, and around 27, 28, at least it was the case a couple of years back, as your base. I don't know how the salaries are keeping up with the trends. Then 2 years in, when you become like a senior associate, you'll probably get mid 40s as your base and another 10, 15 as bonus. Become a manager.
Just to clarify, so McKinsey versus like BCG, the term senior associate is again, your
Yeah.
junior consultant is our senior associate. So
Yeah.
just to clarify that, so
Yeah.
don't confuse that, after 2
The
years.
senior associate, that would be consultant.
That is
for
what we
BCG.
join
Yeah,
as.
thanks for that clarification.
Just
actually.
clarifying.
Just think of it like T+2, where T
Yeah.
denotes the time at which you entered the consulting firm, right? So 2 years in, mid 40s base, another 10, 15, and we're talking tier 1 consulting firms, and then maybe 10 to 15 bonus, depending upon how much rating you get. 3.5, 4 years in, you eventually become a manager, mid 60s as your base, and another 20, 30 as bonus, depending upon the rating again. How much does a partner makes? A partner knows. We don't really know, but you could argue somewhere in, I don't know. Actually, I don't want to give numbers just for the sake of it, but yeah, that's what's up.
Got it. But yeah, it's kind of good money as well. Yes, there's a lot of work, not as you mentioned on a per hourly basis. I don't think if it's the right thing. But Nikhil Kamath recently had pointed out MBA at 25, and you are exactly at 25, Vibhanshu. You're the best person at it.
Yeah, we are way past.
Do you think this video
That
will reach Nikhil
benchmark.
Kamath? I think if it reaches a billionaire, I would be happy, bro. Nikhil, I love you, man. I am a big fan, but okay, continue.
Okay, so MBA at 25 is an idiot, obviously. So
Not
what's your-
obviously. I think
He did
No,
it.
that's his statement.
He did it before 25.
But I also
so
don't
he's
think
not an idiot.
Yeah, I also don't
Yeah,
think he
but-
meant it in like, an idiot
Yeah.
objectively. What he wanted to kind of say is, it is not the most rational decision you would make.
Right.
And I think I buy that school of thought. Like, here's a guy who dropped out of school, right?
Right.
And co-build actually a business which is successfully bootstrapped unicorn, and in many ways he knows what the next step is, even with his game on content, right? Meeting people, doing podcasts, because he understands a lot of things from first principles, which a lot of people don't. So in many ways I appreciate. It's also funny that people mimic him a lot on internet and the way he speaks, it's hilarious. I actually really like those reels. But in general, I think at least I would assume what he was trying to say is, if you really want to build an empire or a business or grow your wealth, which is primarily the objective behind doing an MBA, then probably MBA is not the best thing you can do at 25. Exactly. At 25, you should have a larger risk appetite to go join a startup, to start something of your own, which to me makes perfect sense, honestly. Because I can also say that because I have done this degree and now I know what they teach in MBA, etc. But if I did not know those things, will I still be saying the same thing? Maybe not. But now that I do know those things, I feel like you don't really need to go to a formal institute, get a degree just to signal some caliber, or it just ends up being a signaling device at the end of the day. Right. It just shows that, if he's from ABC, he really knows his stuff, which is great. But do you really need that to signal your competence, or you can build something else which signals competence? So mix, but then again, we're not speaking about the majority of India. Right. The majority of India are people who are living not great lives from a career standpoint. Like jobs, unemployment is a real deal in this country, right? And when you don't have opportunities on your way, what do? Here is a degree that will give you access to companies which will come hire you for roles which will give you a stellar career. Why would you not want to do an MBA in that case? And which I think he will also agree on. In that case, it makes sense. But completely from a first principles perspective, MBA is not the best thing to make wealth.
Right. And I think, or I'll just let Avni, if you want to add something, and I'll just pitch in after that.
So what Nikhil also said, it works in the context that he has said it, right?
Yeah.
You cannot debate out कि यार MBA useless है, MBA सही है.
Yeah.
It works for some people. It might not be the smartest choice for other people, right? So, for example, today today I'm 25 and I'm saying I want to start a business. And now I'm debating, should I do an MBA and then start a business after 2 years? Or should I, just start my business? Then it makes more sense for you to just start your business. Why do you want to waste 2 more years?
Right.
You lose your advantage. You lose years, you lose more money in doing that. And ultimately, you don't even want to job out of it, right? So then it doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
But for somebody who's not like, I want to build something someday, somebody who wants a comfortable life, who's like, I'm earning 20,000 today. What if I do an MBA, I'll earn 2 lakhs per month after 2 years out of MBA? Then it maybe makes sense for you to go ahead and do that.
Right. And even I think it was like blown out of proportion and taken out of context, because I don't know if you just cut out a few reels from a specific YouTube video, just put it on the shorts, and the attention span is such. People don't understand the full logic behind it. Like, if I had been a billionaire, obviously an MBA does not make sense for me. A 2 lakh job does not make sense for me. And if you're someone who's aspiring, say, to be a brand manager at HUL or an investment banker at JP Morgan, why would you take an advice from Nikhil Kamath is the first thing. You would obviously want to talk to someone who is in that particular company and then understand the value of the degree. If you want to build something like Nikhil Kamath, obviously MBA will not make sense for you.
Like we have discussed, MBA is not for building entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
Eventually,
And
you're
if you
building
want to take his
managers.
path,
But would an
it's not-
investment banker at JP Morgan Chase not happily switch lives with Nikhil Kamath?
He will, but can he build it? Nikhil Kamath can.
Not necessarily.
I think he would, yeah. The investment bankers
will.
I know
He
are
will.
very miserable in
Yeah.
their lives.
But that
They
is
will.
the profession they've chosen.
They will, but the probability of becoming an investment banker is much better than becoming Nikhil Kamath.
Okay,
So
true.
that's the thing. And even for some people, becoming an investment banker at JP Morgan is a dream job because the probability of the job that they have is much more than the probability of becoming an investment
And
banker.
even the risk appetite. He's a
Exactly.
dropout right at the school level. How many
exactly.
of us have the guts to actually do that?
Yeah.
We don't have the
Exactly.
guts
Very
to
different
actually
concept.
do our jobs which we
what
hate.
a guy, bro. Honestly,
Yeah.
what a guy.
Obviously, that's
So he is allowed to make such statements because he has lived that life, he has lived
Yeah.
that experience, right? But for
Right.
majority of people, they will not even leave the jobs that they hate, desperately hate.
Exactly.
They'll not leave it.
And this appetite that you're talking about, in fact, I remember I made a video with an NGO as well. Some of those kids in class 11, 12, they went out to do certain jobs, not focusing completely on the studies because they have to make money. And I said that in that particular video that taking that risk is also a privilege.
Yeah.
When food on your table is at risk, that risk-taking appetite goes away. You need that safety net. Some of the people and majority of India, as you were also saying, needs that kind of a safety bet. And I believe any education, not only MBA, but any educational degree at least gives you that safety bet that I can put food on the table. And after that, I think taking risk is also a privilege, which you can get after that.
It is. And it varies for every individual. For somebody, it will be like, I can't afford to go for an MBA in India. For
Right.
somebody else, it will be like, no, I can maybe take a loan and pay it off later. Like I took a loan and I paid it off and
I'm
then
still paying it
I
off.
made the switch. So I paid it off. I had to manage the finances and then I left my job and I was like, okay, now it is done. I used up my savings also from before my MBA. So it's different for every person. For some people, it's just like, I don't know if I want to do an MBA or not. It's not much, money is not much big of a factor.
Yeah.
It's just a decision point for them.
Right.
So it depends on a lot of different factors.
Exactly. And when people talk about the ROI of MBA program as well, I think rather than the fees, because over a career span of 25, 30 years, the fees is not the most important factor. I think it's the 2 years. If in those 2 years is the real ROI that you're it's the real investment that you're making in the prime of your career. If you can do something much better than an MBA program, probably you can go for it.
And you're a great example of that. You actually started creating content while you were
during
in
MBA.
MBA. And you built a
during
very
MBA.
good backup for yourself, which
Yeah.
allowed you to eventually leave your job as well.
Right.
So I think that's a great example of,
I think it didn't have the risk appetite if I hadn't built that backup, right? So with obviously to an extent you can say that my MBA degree, the CAT percentile and everything became a sign of credibility for the content as well that I'm creating, and I started creating in the same niche, which kind of helped. That's why there's a direct correlation. But anyway, if someone just wants to start content, build something on the side and then leave the job, it kind of acts as that safety net at least.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps. And ROI perspective, as I was saying, that 2 years, if you can do something else, probably you should invest that time.
Even I was working during my second year of MBA. I was working part-time because I had a PPO. I was not sitting for placements. So it very much depends on how you also invest those 2 years, doing what things.
Right. And majority of the undergraduates as well, you see in India, people talk about, okay, so certain MBA colleges that probably not offer, say, 25, 30 lakh packages, say just 15 lakh package or 10 to 15 package. But if you see the majority of students coming out of an undergraduate degree, getting a job itself is a luxury. Even 3-4 lakh job is a luxury for them. Now, if they want to upskill and they cannot do something else during that period because they cannot invest in terms of capital or maybe in terms of time, or they don't have the specific network or so, probably even going for an MBA program that can get them to a 10-15 lakh job, and they build some kind of a capital for some years. After that, they start building something. Makes sense for them.
Yeah.
So it believes one size doesn't fit all kind of
Exactly.
thing. So now coming back, discussing about that, I think now knowing everything that we have across the years, if we come back and if you have to choose it again, whether you would go for an MBA program or not, what would you do? Would you do it again?
Yeah, in a heartbeat, I would say.
Yeah.
For me, though, it worked out very nicely. I think a lot of what I am right now, I owe to the degree, and it's been a nice experience overall. I think I feel like I've made significant progress in the last 3 years in terms of the opportunities that are coming my way now. How I really don't see any reason for me why not to do it. So I would definitely do it again. Yeah.
Avni, you?
I would also do it. I wouldn't say the money placement or any other aspect because I have left my job and I'm doing my own thing. But it does add a lot of credibility in terms of opening a lot of doors for you. A lot of my personal brand is the credentials I carry. So I think it has helped me in a lot of ways.
God, even I think for me, if not an MBA program, probably I would just have been working in the same job. Yes, salary wise, maybe after I would have been few lakhs here or there. It was a good job, consulting job I had, but definitely I would do it again. But suppose if I reframe the question, who should not go for an MBA program? If you can just answer that, so that anyone in their 20s who are thinking about if it's the right fit or not, they should also know that probably MBA is not right for me. So who should not go for an MBA program?
I think somebody who does not have the clarity of why they want to go for an MBA is one. I think you should be very clear in
Do you
terms
think
of,
that should be the case? Because when I was doing it, I think I was lost.
Huh.
Do you think मतलब वो होना चाहिए clarity?
I think clarity in terms of what you want for the next 2-3 years at least, because you're investing your time for the next 2 years, you're investing money into it, and the time now is very different from what it was before. Now there's a lot of freely available information, a lot of things that you can do. You can build entrepreneurship. There's no stigma associated with programs like Shark Tank are taking off, and
Yeah.
the entire vibe has sort of changed. So now it is all the more important for somebody to sit down and question that, okay, if I'm going for an MBA, what do I want out of it?
Right. And Vibhanshu?
Yeah, I would say 3 kinds of people should not do an MBA. The first kind is the people who graduated from top institutes like IITs, etc. I feel like they already have access to the resources a top an MBA would give them, which is to say that if I am an IIT Delhi graduate from a CS degree, or actually most people don't do an MBA after CS, but let's say mechanical or something like that, and I'm working in a company where my uncle knows someone who's already working in a startup, I am better off applying to a startup and like, so if I'm not happy in my current job, that is, instead of going this route and like taking a degree, because you're taking a seat away from someone. Second is people who have successful family businesses should also not do an MBA. I feel like a lot of people I see, at least in my batch, they do an MBA, they work for a year, and then they go back to joining the family business. On paper, they give answers like the skills I learned during an MBA will help me scale my business also. But we all know that's not entirely true, because your business and the industry you're set up in, maybe some bits and pieces you do use, actually, I'm not denying you're not, but you don't really need a degree. You can kind of self-teach yourself if you already have a family business and do that. Third kind of people who should not do it are people who are in close proximity to these startup incubators, like people in Bangalore, even a person who's graduating from Christ with a BBA degree, but through his time in Bangalore has come across a lot of incubators in Kormangala or like an SR cell in IIM Bangalore. He's speaking to people who are already building businesses. He doesn't need to, for lack of a better word, waste 2 years in getting a piece of paper to then again do the same thing, right? So, but if you are someone who's like from a tier 2, tier 3 city, who's gone to a decent college, but the college and the degree has not given him a job, who wants to learn more about business, who wants to have access to these companies, who wants to build a network, who doesn't have a good social following, etc., I think MBA will help you improve in every single aspect in that order, and I think in that case it will be a very useful degree for you to do.
But I think that is a very the incubator and all of that, that is a very entrepreneurial mindset kind of people that
Yeah, it ties back to
it
what
is
you were
for.
saying. I mean, if your reasons for MBA are not very clear,
if you already have an entrepreneurial mindset
Yeah.
and you know that this is what you want to do, then it does not make sense,
Yeah.
because like we've discussed, you're not learning how to become an entrepreneur
Right.
in an
True.
MBA.
Makes sense. I think Nothing to add over here. I think very well covered, like by both of you. I think if you have that kind of a structure that you need this kind of a traditional curriculum and everything to get access to the network and again, what we were saying about getting access to the network and capital. And if you already have it, if you have a business, if you have the network already, probably yes, it's you can do a lot of other things as well rather than an MBA program. But again, if you don't have it, if you're coming from a specific college and you are tied to a particular job, which probably you want to switch domain or you want to switch to a higher salary, probably yes, MBA still carries a lot of weight.
In fact, I know some people from my undergrad, like you said, IIT, CSE and all, who've actually went ahead and done an MBA from India and are working at a lesser salary than they were before also.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a different kind of drive to switch a domain, maybe.
Yeah. Right. But they're also still not a lot, at least some of them I know are not very happy with the idea. They were like, why did we do that? Like,
exactly. Same thing happened at IIM Ahmedabad as well. So there was this one person who was from IIT and he had got a job offer from Goldman Sachs in the quants role. The kind of salary that they offered at IIT is also very similar. Yeah. He came to IIM for maybe a different kind of a role, maybe an IB that can offer him more. However, for some reason it didn't turn out, and the same role he was getting again, Goldman Sachs quant role, which offers the same salary as in IIT. So obviously that person will not find worth in it. But he came with a different expectation, IB, and it depends on you as well. You need to build those skills. If you have come for an IB program, then you need to build those financial skills, maybe those front-end skills as well, which an investment banker needs rather than the quant role. So,
and one very important point here is like IIM Calcutta has historically been known as the finance campus, right? But if you actually look at the numbers, you will see that a very small percentage of people actually are going and doing finance jobs. Now, majority of people are going in consulting. There are product manager roles. There's different kind of things that people are doing. And finance companies which come, they hire very few people. Like there'll be one opening, two openings for, people to go. And in that, you're competing in a pool of people who have come from already working in finance companies, who probably hold a CFA charter, who are from a CA background. And then you coming from a, computer science background, for example, or a tech background. And you're like, I have come to an MBA because I want to go into IB. So you have to think about the pool of people that you will be competing with for that one or two open positions. So it might not yield the result that you actually want. So it's very important to have the entire set of information and not just go by the bias that, I want to go into finance, so I'll go to IIM Calcutta. Exactly. That doesn't work anymore. You need to do the research.
And that also ties to a lot of students come with this doubt. Should I join this college, that college? And the metric that they have in mind is the highest package, which is absolutely worthless because one person gets it. And no matter how good you are, if you want to be in the top 30%, top 40%, that makes sense. You can get there. But if you want to get that highest package, there are a lot of other factors apart from your academics overall profile as well that will come into the picture, and that's not in your hands as well. So you cannot go with that fixed mindset, I want to get into this role, this company, this package. You have to be a little bit open about it. Maybe being in the top 30-40% is something that you should realistically target. And that's one of the myths as well that any student going for an MBA program should avoid. Not be very stringent that this is the only thing that I'll do after an MBA program.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I guess that's it. We have discussed a lot about what happened like before IIM, like our career trajectory during MBA and obviously after MBA. And I think students would have got a flavor of what it means to be in the IIMs and definitely what it means to pursue an MBA program. So thank you for doing this. Thank you, Vibhanshu. Thank you, Avni, for doing this, taking out time. I hope for the audience, we could make some sense out of it. This was a completely unscripted, completely unscripted podcast that we thought that we'll just get out for you, talk about our life, how it unfolded after IIM. And hopefully we made some sense out of it.
Wow, what an underwhelming ending. No, just kidding. It was a good podcast. I had a good time. I think. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.
Especially the bits in the beginning about like ABC and the banter.
I enjoyed the banter.
Yeah, I think we enjoy the banter. But as I was mentioning, once the college happens, once you get into the same company, it's the same pool of friends that we have. IIM A, B, C, maybe ISB as well to an extent. you land up in similar companies, you may end up making friends with all of those, and it does not remain just an IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore or Calcutta.
Everyone knows the stories of every campus more or less. Like even now doing content and everything, now we know the stories is what is happening in this community.
Exactly. And you would have a lot of friends from those two campuses. You would have similarly in your company, similarly for me as well. And it kind of becomes that IIM A, B, C community rather than just A, B and C.
Even more. Even beyond.
Beyond as well, actually.
Very inclusive set of people.
Any B school for that matter.
Okay, thank you so much for doing this. I had a great time.